Welcome back. You're still watching Network Africa on Channels Television. Now, the United Nations has confirmed that one of its cargo helicopters has crashed in South Sudan amid speculation that it was actually shot down. 3 crew members were killed while 1 survived.
It was indeed very unfortunate, but still very much a reality. 3 crew members of the United Nations peacekeeping helicopter in South Sudan were killed on Tuesday, August the 26th, when their aircraft crashed on a routine cargo flight, and a 4th crew member is being treated for injuries. The United Nations confirmed the incident through Toby Lanza, the officer in charge of the UN mission in South Sudan, UNMISS. Bentiu, the capital of the oil-producing Unity State, lies in the north of Africa's newest nation. Fighting has often flared in Unity State as rival battle to control vital oil fields. The conflict has pitted soldiers loyal to President Salva Kiir against the former Deputy President W.H.O. Despite 2 ceasefire pacts, fighting has continued. Russia's Interfax news agency believes preliminary information indicated the helicopter operated by a Russian firm has been shot down as it flew over an area that has been a flashpoint during a civil conflict that is now more than 8 months old.
So this afternoon at about 3 o'clock we received a report that one of our helicopters, an Mi-8, had crashed about 10 kilometers south of Bentiu in Unity State. This is one of the states that's most affected by the conflict which has been going on in South Sudan for some months now.
All 3 of those killed were said to be Russians, but the UNMISS is yet to confirm that bit of information. An investigative team arrived at the crash site the following day to assess the situation.
We immediately deployed a team to the area where we thought we had heard some form of explosion or crash, and the search and rescue team has come across the helicopter that was on a routine cargo flight from the city of W.H.O to Bentiu today. This is a Russian helicopter. The model is known as an Mi-8, and there were 4 crew members, all Russian citizens, and I do fear that some of them may have lost their life.
The UN force set up after South Sudan's independence in 2011 has been seeking to protect civilians. At least 10,000 people have been killed in the fighting, which has driven the nation to the brink of a man-made famine. Peace talks in Ethiopia has made little significant progress. The United States and European Union have imposed sanctions on commanders from both sides, and regional African states sponsoring negotiations have threatened punitive measures against those impeding talks, but to little avail. Initial setup to protect civilians as well as carry out other state-building work, the UNMISS peacekeepers were authorized by the United Nations Security Council in May to focus on protecting civilians and back the use of force. UNMISS has approved strength of up to 12,000 military personnel and more than 1,300 civilian police personnel.
Still talking about the world's newest country, nearly 3,500 newer people have sought shelter in a traditionally Dinka area in Amokpini in Lakes State, South Sudan, making this one of the only regions in the country where the 2 rival communities are living together. Much of the recent fighting has played out along ethnic fault lines, pitting President Salva Kiir's Dinka community against former Vice President Riek Machar's Nuer. More than 1.1 million people have been displaced by the conflict since it began last year in December.
At least 10,000 people have been killed since fierce fighting erupted in December, pitting President Salva Kiir's government forces against supporters of Riek Machar, his former deputy and longtime rival. The presence of Nuer in Amokpini is unique, as this is one of the only areas in the country where the 2 communities are living side by side. The conflict has reopened deep ethnic tensions between Kiir's Dinka and Marsha's Noah in a country which won independence from Sudan in 2011. Kiir and Marsha agreed in May to a ceasefire and to form a transitional government, but little progress has been made. The United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, has been monitoring the situation in Amokbene and providing assistance to the displaced.
Amokbene is actually a Dinka area. It's a Dinka Payam, but people from Unity State, the Nuer, have been in a long history with the people of Amokbene. They have intermarried, and they have this social link. So that's why they felt more secure to come to Amokbene than any other area, any other Payam within Lake State.
Displaced people who have been living in Amokbene since June 2014 say they feel safe here. Aid organizations and local NGOs have been teaching members of the community here lessons on human rights, sex education, and crime prevention.
In the future, things will change, and then the coverages will improve, and that will reduce the childhood illness in this area.
W.H.O. has been vaccinating against childhood diseases such as measles, tuberculosis, polio, and hepatitis. But while life in Amokbene is relatively peaceful, aid agencies say South Sudan could be headed for the worst famine since the mid-80s, when malnutrition swept through East Africa and killed over 1 million people. 50,000 children under 5 were at risk of dying of malnutrition in the coming month.
In the Central African Republic, things aren't any better. Since December 2012, civil war in the CAR has left thousands of people dead. The pediatric hospital in Bangui is the only one of its kind in the country, and the number of children being treated for acute malnutrition has tripled in the last year.
The Central African Republic was thrown into turmoil since Salika rebels launched attacks a year ago and forced President Francois Bozé to flee. Some 2,000 French and 6,000 African Union peacekeepers have been deployed to Central African Republic, but they have struggled to help the weak transitional government stamp its authority on the mineral-rich country. A 12,000-strong UN peacekeeping force is due to start deploying next month. Although ongoing conflict continues to affect millions in the country, it's the children who have been hit the hardest. This is the Bangui Pediatric Hospital, the only one of its kind in the country. With the increasing numbers of children being treated for malnutrition having tripled in the last year, the hospital provides an inpatient nutrition treatment center and 2 additional tents to accommodate the overflow of malnourished children. Alexis is just one of the 2.3 million children affected by the conflict. When Salika rebels attacked the village of Boara, where his family lived, all the villagers were forced to hide in the bush. Alexis was left for dead after his father was shot several times and Alexis lost consciousness. His mother later found him lying on the body of his dead father.
They came into our shelter and my husband took Alexis and fled. I took our other child and ran. They chased me, but when they got close and realized that I was a woman, and they changed direction to go after my husband.
This is just one story of war.